All right, we're moving on to a new unit. This is the cardiovascular system. Sometimes it is referred to as the circulatory system. There's just a little bit of inaccuracy there. The circulatory system actually encompasses two systems, the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system. So the cardiovascular system would be the heart, the blood vessels. The lymphatic system would be lymph nodes and lymph vessels. Now, the lymph nodes and lymph vessels require the heart to move that fluid around as well. So the heart is functioning in both systems, but we're only focusing on the cardiovascular piece. So the heart, the blood, and the blood vessels, not anything to do with lymph or lymph vessels. All right, so let's get started. Okay, our first topic is pulse. What is pulse? Pulse. It's a rhythmic dilation of an artery, so you can feel it. Okay, there are lots of locations that you can feel it. So where are the most common ones? So in an unconscious person, you might use the carotid artery. Okay, that runs up the neck. Why would you not want to use that in someone who's not unconscious? Well, it's a little bit aggressive and invasive. So I'm going to use something a little bit less intimidating for most people most of the time. So where's that? That's the radial artery. So here is my forearm. On the thumb side right here, I can measure my radial. And I'm going to use a pedal pulse in the foot for diabetics, also sometimes for other reasons. So I might check the dorsalis pedis, that's on the top of the foot. I might check the posterior tibial on the medial side of the ankle. And that's just to check and make sure the heart is pumping effectively and is able to circulate all the way to the furthest extremity. All right, so what are some functions of the cardiovascular system? Regulates body temperature typically through vasodilation and vasoconstriction to regulate the amount of blood flow to the skin. It transports hormones and immune cells. It transports gases, nutrients, and wastes. Okay, a lot of big functions. Parts of the cardiovascular system, well, the heart, the blood vessels that I mentioned already. So a little bit about the heart, okay? The heart is about the size of your fist, okay? It beats on average 60 to 100 beats per minute. It makes the sound lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. And you can see right now that lub-dub sound comes from the valves closing. So you have valves between the atria and the ventricles, and you have valves between the ventricles and the vessels that come out of them. And as those valves close, create the sound lub-dub. All right, there are four major components of blood. We have plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So plasma is the liquid portion. It has all that dissolved stuff in it. Salts, nutrients, waste, gases. Red blood cells are the erythrocytes, and they're what's going to carry oxygen. White blood cells, they're lymphocytes, and they're going to help fight disease and infection. And platelets are going to help clot the blood. Platelets are not actually cells, they're just cell fragments, so pieces. Blood types. So there are four blood types, A, AB, B, and O. O is the universal donor. That means anyone can receive blood from someone who has type O blood. AB is the universal recipient, meaning someone who is AB can receive blood from anyone. But there's one other factor, and that is the Rh factor or rhesus factor that was first initially discovered in rhesus monkeys. And that means you're either positive or negative. So you're A positive or A negative, and you're AB positive or AB negative. So each blood type can either be positive or negative. Why is that important? Okay, if you're positive, you can get positive blood. You can also get negative blood. But if you're negative, you can only get negative blood. So that means people who are O negative can literally only get blood from O negative. Okay, whereas AB positive could literally get any blood type. Okay, and you could see just on this chart how common blood types are. So O positive is pretty common, as well as A positive. Okay, aside from those two, the blood types get more and more rare. Okay, so and it's important for transfusions. If a person is a negative blood type and you introduce a positive blood type, there will be clotting. okay, which that is problematic and could result in death. All right, the structure of the heart. There's a septum, a wall that separates the right side from the left side. The two top chambers are called atria or atrium for singular. The two bottom chambers are called ventricles. They're the muscular ones. They're pumping far. Remember the atria, they just got to pump right underneath them to the ventricles. The ventricles have to pump somewhere else, either the lungs or the rest of the body. The right side of the heart carries deoxygenated blood. That means low in oxygen. And the left side carries oxygenated blood. Now, in the picture, it's represented as blue and red. But remember, literally, the blood isn't blue or red. It just indicates the level of oxygen. Right? And there are many valves that keep blood flowing in one direction. So when the atrioventricular valves close, we hear lub sound. And when the semilunar valves close, we hear the dub sound. All right, so let's talk about blood vessels. We have arteries that carry blood away, A for away from the heart. They're thick walls, they have a lot of muscle, and you can feel the pulse. Veins bring blood back to the heart. They have the largest lumen, that's the space where blood is allowed to flow. So most of our blood, percentage-wise, is in veins. And they contain valves to prevent backflow. And then there are capillaries. They connect arteries and veins. They're the site of diffusion. They're literally the smallest blood vessels, the most numerous, and they're a single cell wall thick. That's why diffusion can happen. Okay. What are the types of circulation? There's coronary, that brings blood to and from the heart itself. So the blood flowing through the heart does nothing for the heart. I need blood vessels that are actually going to go to the heart. Pulmonary goes to and from the lungs, okay, and that oxygenates the blood. And then systemic circulation brings blood to and from the body, and it allows for exchange with body cells. All right, the cardiac cycle, which lasts under a second, about 0.8 seconds, has two main components. We have an electrical event, which starts, if you can see in this picture, at the SA node. That's the pacemaker. It goes to the AV node down the bundle of His to the Burkitt fibers. Okay. Then we have the muscular event, and that's systole or contraction of those ventricles. So it's based on the ventricles. We have an EKG, ECG, or electrocardiogram. How confusing that it has so many names. But anyway, it records the electrical events of the heart. So there's a P wave. That's that first little bump. Boop, P wave. That's when the atria contract. Then we have the QRS wave. Ready? Boop, P wave. Boom. QRS wave. That's the ventricular contraction. And then you have the T wave. So boop. And then you have big, tall QRS wave. And then another boop. That's the T wave. Okay. And that's where the ventricles are going to relax and get ready for the next contraction. Some diseases and disorders. We have bradycardia, slow heart rate, tachycardia, fast heart rate. Myocardial infarction is a heart attack. If you look here, you can see that the heart attack symptoms do not always match up when you're talking about males versus females. Atherosclerosis are fatty deposits in blood vessels. And a student many years ago gave me this hint that it sounds like father in the beginning. Ather has the same letters, a lot of the same letters as father. And the student said their father was fat. So that helped them remember that atherosclerosis was fatty deposits. So why would you have to remember that? Because look at this one, arterial sclerosis. That's hardening of the arteries. So see how similar they are? So I still remember that student from years ago. And hypertension, high blood pressure, hypotension, low blood pressure. Some of the major blood vessels, the aorta is the largest artery. The carotid artery and the jugular vein are both in your neck. The aorta is right coming out of your heart. The femoral artery in your thigh, the brachial artery in your upper arm, the hepatic artery to your liver. And there you have it. That's an introduction to the skeleton, not the skeletal, to the cardiovascular system. I guess I have skeletal system on my brain. There you go. Well, cardiovascular system, heart, blood vessels, tons of super interesting stuff about it, and more videos to come. So stay tuned.